monsters ever die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. It's horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
All right, so besides my vague accusations of something weird going on in South America that we won't talk about,
Not yet.
and don't talk about, besides that, there is another nexus of weirdness that seems to come up both for paranormal, UFO, what have you, and it is the American
Walmart.
Southwest.
Oh. Oh no. Okay.
Walmart.
Okay, not
No,
Walmart.
So the American Southwest, right? So you have the Roswell crash and a whole lot of the UFO sightings and videos, and then you have things like Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh yeah.
Even cryptid stuff like the Skinwalkers themselves, right?
Right.
Besides the paranormal stuff that goes on at Skinwalker Ranch. So we have a paranormal creature straight from the Southwest with us this week, and we'll talk about them in a bit. But I am Aeon,
And I'm Victus.
and this is Paul, my husband, our
It's
very own Southwest Strangeness.
Southwest Strangeness.
Southwest Strangeness. And I say that because Paul is from New Mexico, as some of you may remember, and this week we are covering
Oh yes.
La Llorona.
This is the face I was looking for.
And Paul didn't know this. Paul didn't know this. So we're doing this. We're doing this for him because I had never heard of La Llorona until Paul had said something about it, and I was like, "That's not a wait. It's like a real thing." He's like, "No, for real. We can call up any of my friends from New Mexico, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we used to go look for La Llorona in the was it the ditch bank? Is that you guys
in the Rio Grande too?
the ditch bank in the
Right.
Rio Grande? So
Yeah.
And then when we moved in, the closet door had to be closed because La Llorona would be hiding in there.
yes, I do remember that. Paul
And of
used
course,
to
the
inquire.
kukui, which is a different thing, would be outside the window, so we always had to have the.
Ooh, okay, that's good
Blind.
because I'm probably going to need your help pronouncing a few of these things. That one you just said, what was that last one?
Kukui. I have a funny kukui story. So it means basically, I don't know, like some kind of a booger man or something, right? So I was telling
I
my
think
dad
it's
once-
mentioned in this research I got.
It wouldn't shock me because the kukui drives La Llorona around in the car too.
Oh, it's Chihuahua. That's what I'm saying.
Here.
Chihuacoatl. Coacotl?
Coacotl.
Something like
The
that.
great white god. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goddess, is what they said. Anyway,
Great
that's
white
in
god.
it's in the
Great white
research.
god.
There's going to be tons of stuff I'm not going to be able to pronounce, so I'm going to look to you, Paul.
Yeah.
But yes, we're doing La Llorona this week. I am pleased to announce that we have, from January of this year, video evidence of La Llorona,
Excellent.
and
Really?
it is spooky. It is spooky. It is spooky.
You said that it was a little tough digging past all of the
yeah.
stuff about the movie since they came out with the movie.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I ended up having to, and then of course it was after that. It was wading through all the junk on TikTok because it is a trend on TikTok. There's this group that I really like that they do like little AI videos of cryptids and paranormal things, and they're excellently done. And La Llorona was one of their biggest ones, and their video has been shared and shared and shared so many times that it just dominates the algorithm. So it was
Well, listen, that's what you do in New Mexico as a kid at night. Like if back in the day when I was a kid, we had cell phones to walk around with, your friends would be calling and texting you at 2 a.m, or the next day. They're like, "Where were you?" Well, of course we were up by the river looking for La Llorona. What do you think we were?
so it's good that we did it was just last second decided this was what we needed to do this week, because I was looking at some other stuff. I was kind of leaning more towards something Halloween themed, which is something I want to start next week, which is something I was going to get at. But I want to start doing, just for the month of October, for the sake of spooky season, I want to start throwing a little mini segment. Yeah, shout out to spooky season.
Yeah, it's spooky season.
A little tiny mini segment at the beginning of the episode where we talk about spooky season. So, like the fundamentals of Halloween, where it comes from. And,
Perfect.
I thought it'd be a nice way to... Oh, nuts, I forgot to make an overlay. I was going to make an overlay for the podcast of, like, spider webs. So...
Oh, well, we can start it next week.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of doing. It's been a busy week here, so we got a boat show in a week, so everybody's scrambling. But, yeah, we got La Llorona. And I'm also very glad to have Paul here. I've known Paul a pretty good long while.
A pretty good long while.
A pretty
I think
good long
we first
while.
spoke on the phone, I don't know, in 2017 or something.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, who is this guy?
I remember that conversation. I was pacing in my backyard.
I know, and I was trying not to say anything.
It's fine. It's good. All right. So we're going to start with the basic story here. The story of La Llorona, which means the Weeping Woman, is one of the most well-known and enduring legends in Latin American folklore. While the details can vary depending on the region, the core elements of the story remain consistent. So some of the origins and background actually start with pre-colonial influences, and this is something I didn't know. Some interpretations of La Llorona's story traces its origins back to Aztec mythology. In particular, the goddess Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
Not Quetzalcoatl. I know Quetzalcoatl. It looks like pieces of Chihuahua chopped up. Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. That's got to be it. Associated with motherhood and childbearing, was known to have wept for her children. Additionally, there is a historical figure from the conquest of Mexico. All these Spanish-sounding names. La Malinche. Yes, an indigenous woman who was a translator and consort to Hernan Cortez. Some view La Malinche as a precursor to the figure of La Llorona, as she was often blamed for the fall of the Aztec Empire. So that was interesting because I thought it was more of a recent thing.
That's a deeply multicultural,
Yeah.
multi-generation injury, right?
Yes,
That
generally,
would be
generally when roots run this deep, we're starting to we look at things a little less pessimistically because there is solid foundation. That's what we look for.
Usually when we find that if something persists this long,
Yes.
all except for the Jersey Devil, when they persist this long, there's usually a decent reason. The Jersey Devil just persists because it's Jersey and it's, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Florida.
Jersey. But there is also some colonial influence. The legend of La Llorona evolved during the colonial period and took on a more recognizable form that resembled the version widely told today. European influences such as the archetype of the woman in white, which is my least favorite ghost of all time. I will say that, but it is ironic that we're
Is that
talking.
the one that's always waiting on the road for someone to pick her up?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, I saw her once.
Did you?
Did you pick her up?
For real?
No, I didn't pick her up. My God.
You know better.
I knew she was up to no good, so I kept driving.
Because it wasn't some guy in white.
Correct. I was like, no, ma'am.
You're not murdering on this highway tonight.
It's like,
10
no, Mom,
points.
you're not doing this.
Strange. I didn't
So,
feel
that's
anything when I ran her
interesting
over.
That's interesting that it goes back that far because I also thought it was like an urban legend thing.
Right. I was assuming like
That's what I thought.
maybe last 100 years. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought like I was thinking shorter than that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know anything about it. So yeah, I thought it was like urban legend thing, like the hitchhike, like some of the hitchhiker murder stuff and things like that.
Right.
There was one guy, and now it's all hitchhikers at night are the Hook Man.
Right. Yeah, the Hook Man. Jesus, that makes
Yeah,
me think
Hook
of
Man.
what were those books? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Alvin Schwartz.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, Wow, you digging? way
Yeah.
back on that one.
Yeah. that it, for some reason they thought that artwork was acceptable for children in elementary schools.
Right.
Right.
And
Scared,
the guy that did that, the disappearing sidewalk, you remember that?
you're talking about where the sidewalk ends.
Where the sidewalk ends.
Shel
Yeah.
Silverstein.
him? Shel Silverstein. So they put out a book of his stuff that were actually just like a single sketch and like a 1 or 2 sentence thing because they were like they were unpublished. They were the sketches for unpublished books that he didn't do, right?
Yeah.
But when you read it as a kid, because it was just the one line and it was this fantastical drawing, like woodcut,
Yeah.
they all came across as super creepy.
Th-
Like very scary and creepy.
it was a weird art style to be in a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, The Giving Tree is one of my favorite Shel Silverstein books. And I had ordered, because I was starting to build my Shel Silverstein collection back up. So I ordered The Giving Tree, the full color version, and I got it. And I'm looking at the cover, I'm like, something's wrong. It was like the book was printed backwards. So I flip it over and I look. The entire book was written in Hebrew. And so I contacted Amazon. I was like, this is Hebrew. You know, I can't read Hebrew. And he's all like, well, just keep it. We'll send you another one. I was like, cool.
So now you have a backwards Hebrew version?
Yeah.
No, it's the correct way for Hebrew.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but I mean the book reads backwards
Yes.
and it's in Hebrew.
Yeah,
so
like-
you have that and you have the original.
Yeah, it reads like a manga from the back to the front. And the way we look.
So I haven't read it, but a guy named Scott Stoll who writes inspirational stuff,
I know that
that's
name.
his favorite book.
Scott
I've mentioned it
Stoll.
once.
Oh, that's probably
Scott. He did that Falling Uphill book.
Oh,
about him
yes.
migrating around the world. So
Yes.
he wrote a part 2 to The Giving Tree
Really?
because he said as a kid he was depressed that at the very end the Giving Tree is just a stump.
But he could be
Like,
there.
he's given everything and nobody gave anything to the Giving Tree. So
But-
he wrote a thing where from the stump, you know, and it grows back and, you know, all this stuff.
Does he go like on a rampage and murders everybody?
No, I think it's supposed
Uproots
to be,
itself and is take my
you know,
apples
he writes
now.
a children's book. I don't think he wrote a murderous ent,
Oh.
you know, book.
I'm gonna check it out. I'll probably buy it because Giving Tree is great. It's one of my favorite books, man. I love it.
ScottStoll.com. You're welcome, Scott. Free shout out. ScottStoll.com.
Toot toot. Oh, forgot to tell you. I'm gonna start ringing this every time we talk about UFOs. I have a UFO wind chime.
I thought it was when he said ring it every time we say UFOs. I didn't see it. I thought it was gonna be something else. I thought it was gonna be like an air horn, like a burr, burr, burr.
Yeah, you know, I have thought about that because I've got a MIDI controller, and I have used it to make a soundboard from when I was streaming, and I have thought
set some
about
triggers.
yeah, but I'm not sure how to get it to route through absolutely everything at the same time. I think it will complicate things running into OBS and then into Discord at the same time, but I may figure it out. We'll see. It'd be fun to have like some hotkeys that I could throw some sounds onto.
I mean, it'd be worth it for the cheese horn. I'm just saying.
Brr, 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 brr. I actually put that in the description for last week's episode on YouTube. It said something like, "It's y'all's favorite, and here it is. You guys wanted it. It's brr brr brr," and I spelled out brr brr brr, brr brr brr. The rapid fire episode. Yeah, I'm a dork. It's all right. So, any hoots and hollers. Now we can get into the core story of La Llorona. Soundboard. See? Look.
Yeah, we end up having to make our own mouth effects.
That's actually really good. Let's do that. Let's record mouth effects and set that as the brr, brr, brr. That's the air horn. Brr, brr, brr.
And bum bum bum.
They sell this kind of thing for us to use really cheap.
Yeah, there's something about it going coast from middle south to the coast, and then back to his computer, and then routed over the internet and recorded. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
But Rich is a genius, so he can probably figure it out.
I can figure
don't
it
know.
out. I know I could get it to pipe into one piece of software. I'm not sure about how to do it with two. because everything that we're doing right now is running through one machine, but I'm operating 3. So I have a plethora of screens, 3 keyboards, 3 mice in front of me right now. And we are in the cockpit. This is the master control. That's actually the I changed my vocal command for The Office. I say, hey, GWOGLE, fire up the cockpit. And The Office turns on. Everything
Be better
turns
if
on.
it played chicken noises every time you said that.
Cockpit. Anyway, so the core story of La Llorona. These are just the most common versions of La Llorona's story, but they all kind of follow a common thread. Cliff notes. You ready? Beautiful woman. La Llorona was once a beautiful young woman named Maria, often described as humble and a poor girl, though sometimes depicted as a woman of higher class. Her beauty was renowned, and many men sought her affection. The man. Maria eventually fell in love with a wealthy man, sometimes a ranchero or a nobleman. They married and had children, but the man was often distant, either due to his work or his romantic pursuits elsewhere. In some version, he leaves Maria to be with another woman. The betrayal and despair. Over time, Maria's relationship with her husband deteriorated. He either abandons her or is unfaithful. The betrayal causes her to become deeply resentful and heartbroken. Her despair eventually spirals into madness, which leads us to the crime. In a moment of uncontrollable rage or desperation, Maria drowns her own children in a river or a lake. As soon as the act is done, she is overwhelmed by guilt and horror, realizing what she's done. And then finally, her death. Unbearable, unable to bear the weight of her actions, Maria drowns herself in the same body of water, either immediately after the crime or after wandering aimlessly in grief. Upon her death, she is denied entry into the afterlife after she finds her children's souls. So these are the common threads of all the stories. The beautiful woman, the man, the betrayal, the despair, the crime, the death, the lore, the legend, the shadows. So, let's get into the ghost of La Llorona, the weeping woman. After her death, Maria transforms into La Llorona, a wandering ghostly figure condemned to roam the earth in eternal grief, searching for her children. She's often described as wearing a long white gown or dress and can be heard crying. I'm not going to try to read this in Spanish because I don't know how to pronounce these words. Oh, my children. It's the translation. Oh, my children is what she cries. Oh, my children.
What does it tell? Does it all mean hijos?
Yep. No, no.
Hijos.
Mis hijos.
Hijos.
Hijos with an H.
Hijos.
M-I-S space H-I-J-O-S.
Mis hijos.
Mis hijos.
H is silent.
H is silent.
Yeah.
Hijos.
I knew that. I was telling you. I was testing you. Good job.
You passed.
I paid attention in, Los Lunas High School.
I could say this stuff in German better than I can do it in Spanish. But this is what I remember. I didn't know any of the stuff before all of this. I knew of this part. The crying, weeping woman in white looking for her children. That was the beginning of it for me. So some of the hauntings and appearances, La Llorona is said to appear near rivers, lakes, or other bodies of waters, crying and wailing for her lost children. Some say she kidnaps wandering children, mistaking them for her own, and others claim that she brings death or misfortune to those who encounter her. In some versions, she drowns other children as an act of vengeance or madness. Her chilling wails are said to evoke pity, terror, or both, and people who hear her cry are sometimes warned that her appearance is a bad omen, or that hearing her too closely will lead to their doom. Which brings me to a small story I know.
Okay.
I tried to find this video, but I cannot find it. I tried and tried and tried. But about a year ago, I was listening to another podcast where this came up. And this guy was talking about how he was down there in like a river area, a ditch or some kind, or in a riverbank. Dude's filming like 4th of July fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in between fireworks going off, you can hear a woman just like guttural wailing, screaming, crying. And so he sits there and waits, and then after a couple minutes, you see this lady floating up the river, but like she's standing, floating on her feet
On the water.
on the water.
Ooh.
And he had her on film, just perfectly upright, with her hands in her face, or her face in her hands, just wailing. And he just, the whole video, she's just creeping closer and closer, and finally she gets to the side of the river right where he's sitting. She takes one step up, and dude takes off running. And I tried and tried. I couldn't remember the podcast I heard it on. I couldn't find anything on that video. I'd seen it. I swear I bookmarked it or saved it or something, but I could not find it, man. But this is what I hear the most of. This is 90% of what I've read in this research was people hear, middle of the night. Streets are generally deserted, but off in the distance you hear just the full despair cry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about. That's what people are hearing, and that's what most of the reports are. Unfortunately, there is a lot of evidence around this. 3/4 of it is really bad. No, I take that back. 9/10 of it is really bad. Like, filmed on a flip phone bad.
Well, I mean, yeah, because a lot of it is.
It seemed like the only one we can get decent video evidence on is that guy with the S23 Ultra who zoomed in on the UFO. God bless that man.
Yeah.
Bless him. He got way up on that thing.
Though it's funny that you talk about that evidence. I can't even tell you how many times as a kid, and by a kid I mean probably into my 20s, we went looking on the ditch bank or on the banks of the Rio Grande River for La Llorona. I could probably call any 20 friends right now, including my friend who's come here to law school, Jimmy, and they all can tell you about a time they saw La Llorona, they heard La Llorona on the river or on the ditch. And so it's funny, there's just no, it's like the thing of nightmares as a kid growing up in New Mexico. And I realize the historic story didn't start in New Mexico, but you couldn't convince any of us from New Mexico that it was there.
It definitely.
I have friends in Mexico, and they're like, yeah, La Llorona lived over by my mom's house. I'm like thinking, I know you're lying. She lived at the ditch by my mom's house.
Well, then it almost feels like the boogeyman effect, like they're always there, but they're always near the person that needs to see her. You know what I'm saying? Like the monster under the bed.
Sure, and there's all kinds of uses for it too, right? But talking about being scared. So I cannot tell you how scary this was as a kid. La Llorona. And the city of Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get this. They make a park next to the Rio Grande River. For every kid, we're all afraid of La Llorona. And of course, what is it called? La Llorona Park. You can Google it and find it right now. It's so crazy. La Llorona Park, right in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I'm thinking, no little kids are going to want to go over there. Those swing sets are empty forever.
Guess what I'm doing?
Googling La Llorona Park in Las Cruces.
Oh, 2 L's.
Yeah.
Oh, I see La Llorona Cantina, La Llorona Street,
Probably.
La Llorona Progressive Mexican Cuisine. There's a La Llorona Park in West Piacho Avenue, Las Cruces.
Yep, that's it.
There it is. Let's see. Oh, jeez.
See, that's the Rio Grande River, and so there's the park right there.
And they made it right next to the river.
And there's a big street there. I don't know if I don't know what street that is, but the park even goes under the bridge. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the troll under the bridge. How scary can it get?
This is
Let's
hilarious.
go to La Llorona Park at dark, and we'll go under the bridge. Oh no!
La Llorona parking lot. So I want to look through these pictures because generally when we look through the Google Maps at a location like this, we find something.
We find funny tags and pin drops. So when we did the UFO sighting by all these school children in Africa, South Africa, you find the school and there's a pin drop that says UFO landing right there. Yeah, and it's in the stand of trees where all it was depicted in all the kids' drawings of it. What was the other one? There was another one too.
Yeah, La Llorona Park. There you go.
Oh my God.
What
a bad idea.
The Crying Woman, a popular Spanish tale about a woman who cries for her lost children along the river.
Listen, when I was like
Which we put along the
5,
river for you to
6,
lose
7,
your children
8,
in.
clear up into my 20s, there would have been no way you'd have convinced me that it was just a story, because you know I've heard her over crying on the Rio Grande River.
Look, come on, give us something, Google Maps. Come on. Lots of duck pictures. What is that, a fire pit?
That's probably where that's where she roasts you after she catches you.
Wait. A UFO. Sorry, I had to do it.
I mean, it is a funny spot in the picture.
See, even dogs are afraid of her.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da. Like, I was hoping for something. Come on. Somebody, anybody. Hey, an old man by a tree.
I've been to that park, though, before that was called La Llorona. I went to school in Las Cruces for like 1 semester.
Nothing spooky. Well,
Just a bunch of picturesque pictures of a park next to the dry wash of the Rio Grande.
yeah. Hey, look, there's a puppy. That'll make your day. Hello, pup.
Yeah, that's much closer to what it actually looks like.
Just
All that pretty green and blue water, you can forget that. And that mountain's nowhere by Las Cruces. That's really the park.
just grass and water. Gross. Thanks for letting us down, Google Maps. Here we thought we were going to get something
listen,
awesome.
I know that La Llorona didn't live in Las Cruces. She's over by my mom's old house in Los Lunas. I already know.
We know this. But I will say, for the sake of argument, I really, really dislike the idea of a ghost in white. A woman in white. It's always a woman in white. Liquid Death? Psycho
Read the name.
Cider.
Psycho Cider. This is their, I mean, not that I wouldn't take a free sponsorship, but this is their not so great holiday flavor.
Was it like apple
It's the
spice?
Fizzy Waters version of pumpkin spice.
Pretty much. I mean, it's not pumpkin spice, but it's the same.
This is my
not
pumpkin
good.
spice face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, none of their others have any kind of sweetener in them. They're just, flavored fizzy water.
Right.
This has sugar in it, which I'm not that I have a
Not
problem
a
with
fan
sugar,
of?
but I've gotten used to I've gotten used to all the fizzy waters being slightly bitter and like a fruit flavor. And this is But whatever, I bought it, I'm going to drink it.
Yep, I know the feeling.
They charge too much not to drink it.
Right? Yeah. The prices of things are ridiculous.
$4
Ridiculous.
a can at the gas station.
So here's a take on La Llorona.
Let's hear you take. Hot take time. Hot take.
So I have a couple of takes on La Llorona. So there was a campaign by a group called the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a number of years ago, and they had these little yellow stickers that they put on people, bumper stickers or whatever, and there's kind of an image of a woman on it. I don't really remember. I probably could find it if I searched on Google, because that's where everything is.
Yep.
And it talked about, ditches are deadly, stay away. And there was a picture of La Llorona on there. And the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District runs the irrigation ditches for the Middle Rio Grande Valley. So they use that story of La Llorona to try to bring awareness that, you can get in the ditch and drown for children.
Right.
Here's a more maybe dark take on it. So that was an interesting thing. And sometimes I'd hear, parents telling kids, stay away from the ditch. La Llorona will get you and all that sort of thing.
Because every year in the Southwest, like the dry washes and stuff, the ditches that stay dry all year would suddenly fill when there was raining upriver, right?
Right.
And people would get washed away, kids
Right.
especially.
Right.
So,
In fact, Albuquerque Fire Department has a rescue response team for the
ditches.
arroyos. Yeah, they're called the arroyos, the dry washes, when there's rain somewhere and then it'll be
It just comes out of nowhere.
monstrous. Yeah.
Okay, because it's generally
like
flat
several
there,
dozen-
right?
Right.
Okay.
If you've ever driven through Albuquerque on I-40, there's a huge ditch down the middle of I-40, and it just looks like a big gully,
Yeah.
a scenic gully, and I've seen it full, just flowing super fast and full. So Albuquerque Fire has this rapid water response team that comes out there. We used to call them the swim team. But so there's always stories about stay out of there because, La Llorona will get you. And maybe that was a way to warn children. But here's maybe a different take on the story. If that story was not about, that story is about a lot of things. I mean, it might be about mixing classes.
Okay.
She marries
Right.
She's a poor person who marries a rich person. She's a commoner who marries nobility. And that was kind of an anti-class mixing story. She was very beautiful. That's beginning to sound like the story of Narciso.
Yeah.
And
The
truth
one-
is she might be a narcissist, right? So then something happens, her husband turns his affection away from her, and she just can't bear it. So those are called, in modern day, family annihilators. They kill, the others in the family and then kill themselves.
Mhm.
She drowns her children and then she tragically dies herself. It's a story about unrequited love. It's all sorts of things, but I wonder if it's not really just the story of a narcissist.
It's true. Yeah.
because that is true. A disproportionate amount of murder, suicide, family things are usually committed by a narcissist,
Right.
like a clinical narcissist. Not like everybody thinks that their ex is a narcissist, but like a sociopath that has only empathy for themselves, narcissist.
Wait.
Yeah, and
That-
what'll happen?
That does sound like my
Yes.
ex. So.
See.
we may not necessarily be talking about you, true as that may be. So, the funny thing about this is you sort of see that a lot, right? And you're like, oh, she was so pretty, or she was this or that, or they were so smart, or
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. And it reminds me, I probably ought to be careful how much I say about this because I don't, you never know who's listening or who might hear this story. Before I went to law school, I worked in New Mexico doing several jobs, but one of them I worked for the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator. I investigated deaths.
Okay.
And I investigated a multiple murder family suicide.
My husband's one of the most interesting men in the world.
Yes.
Just in case, we've mentioned it before, but the guy on the Dos Equis commercial, the most interesting man in the world.
There it is.
So-
There it is.
So this woman, something had happened. I don't know what happened, and the neighbors hadn't seen the family for a while, and they went up to the front porch, and she's on the porch dead, and it looks like an apparent self-inflicted injury to the head.
Right.
I'm trying to say this so YouTube doesn't,
We're not
It doesn't-
monetized. It doesn't matter.
so they'll hide it and no one will ever see this, right? So, and they go in the house, and her husband and her two children have also, gone on to their greater reward, probably at her hand, and that's what turns out it was. And she was apparently a beautiful woman. She looked beautiful. I saw pictures of her in the house, and the neighbors, like, she was just so pretty and they were so nice, and I just never saw this coming. It's the same story.
Yeah.
here.
You hear that
Turns
everywhere.
out something had happened financially to her that she thought, oh, this is it. I can never overcome this. So that's it. She's going to take everyone out and herself.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty common thing. And isn't that the story of La Llorona? And,
Yeah.
you know, she's out, you know, it's a scary story. And it's a scary story to tell you all sorts of lessons, some of which we may not like today, such as don't marry outside of your class.
Right.
Or it's a terrible story that, you know, La Llorona is going to get you. You shouldn't be where you don't belong.
Right. It feels more like a cautionary tale,
Right.
like a boogeyman tale, something to catch the kid's attention, because what's going to get a child's attention more than anything is a ghost story, right?
Right.
But in the same time, you know,
But they're teaching other undertones under it.
you know, then we're also getting stories that could potentially go back to Aztec times, and
Right.
I mean-
and then if that happens, we're dealing with these racial stories, right? These racist undertones.
yeah,
She mixed races, and look, she's responsible for the whole fall of the Aztec civilization.
yeah, blame it on a woman. Way to go,
Right.
society.
Let's not stick and racist, right? You have so many things in one story.
Yeah, so it seems, yes, there are a lot of social undertones to this story, but I can't help but feel like that they're important to the story.
Sure they are.
Otherwise, okay, so this story is something we can't really poke holes in like we usually do. Nobody's making money off of this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they made a movie, but I mean it's been around forever, so it's not like the
Yeah.
story itself persisted to make the movie.
It's not like, yeah,
Somebody just finally was like, it's such a cultural meme, we're gonna make a movie about it.
yeah, it's not like there's this lady's brother is sitting back raking in royalties after everybody talks about it. But
Right.
that brings us to some evidence, good people.
Yes.
Let's
see the.
let's see some ding dang evidence. So I'm gonna give you the pictures first. Or we have one picture. So this is
One picture.
This is a recent one.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. So this is.
That's not creepy.
What do you know about that picture?
Okay, I'll tell you all about this picture. This came from January of 2024, January 24th. This is courtesy of whatsthejam.com, a viral newsfeed website, about what you'd expect. Let me just hit you the clip notes here. It says a vengeful ghost has been terrorizing a sleepy village as locals claim to have spotted the spirit of La Llorona lurking behind trees and on rooftops. Images show the ghost-like figure hiding up a tree, standing on a roof of a village hut. Numerous villagers claim to have seen the creepy phantom in recent weeks, with images of a specter widely circulating on social media. The alleged apparition sparked panic among the sleepy village of El Anhelo, Anhelo.
Wait, Anehlo?
Anhelo. Anhelo.
Anilo.
It's in it's 290 miles north of Medellin in Colombia. Medellin. Yeah.
Medellin.
Yeah.
Oh,
that place.
90 miles north of Medellin.
Oh yeah. Because if it was east, I would have known it was the other town.
And then for Christmas.
Locals believe the spooky spirit is La Llorona, known in English as the Crying Woman or the Wailer. Okay, so this is one of the better ones. There is another picture that I am not going to grace us with the presence because it is obviously a person wearing a sheet with eye holes. Yeah. I mean, do you just want to see it?
Yeah, show us. Let's
Okay,
see it.
hold on. Let me get the image.
I like the bad ones too because I mean it's, often people obviously we don't usually put up the worst stuff that we find, but I don't think people understand how hard it is to dig because of all the garbage that's out there that you have to dig through to find the good pictures or reasonably good pictures of the things that we're talking about. Sure, there's a ton of stuff out there, but a lot of it's AI and a lot of it's just bad fakes, like not like lazy fakes, not even like, oh, we're gonna make a really good picture. They were just like, hey, you, why don't you get up in that tree with a sheet on? This will be Blockbuster. Oh, I mean, it's pretty bad, but I mean,
It's a vengeful ghost, everybody.
It also seems like it might not even be a person. Like it's just
Like coat hangers.
Clothesline. Clothesline.
yeah. It looks like they threw a shirt over the television antenna.
Yeah. But
it's
if you
bad.
but if you look really close, you see its tiny little eye holes.
Oh no! That's terrible. That's terrible. I do like that it's on the top of a creepy grass hut, roof. I mean, that's pretty good. That seems like something out of a murder movie.
Yeah.
They go to the southwest to investigate. Blah blah blah. Fill in the blank. Creepy grass hut village, deserted.
There it is.
white.
The ghost that's been terrorizing us for days. Boo. Boo. Creepy whale. You see the hands and everything, doing jazz hands in the background. Ah. Yeah. That's the vibe I get from that picture. But
Funny.
geez, I lost my place here. Shadows. 117. But this is also one of the other. This is the other photo from that article, and this one seems a lot more convincing than creepy little antenna ghost. I'd like this one.
Yeah. You could make the argument that it's some lady in a white dress sitting in a tree, but I mean,
You know, what's that called when your eyes try to make a pattern?
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it.
anthropomorphizing.
No, that's
Wait.
when you try to give a dog.
When you try to add it, when I try to tell you that the dog knows what I'm saying when I describe particle physics. to him.
Yes.
He
That's-
does.
That's when you
He's
give
very-
intelligence to inanimate objects.
He's a very smart dog.
Does he know
He
particle
gets-
physics though?
I mean, I talk about it
Probably
all the
better
time.
than
How could he not?
So,
But that picture, it could just be a weird tree. and
yeah.
It,
Or
you know.
it could also just be a kid in a costume trying to get their village on the map. 290 miles north of Medellin.
That's how you sign the address, by the way,
200.
for that
Yeah. Hut,
290 miles.
hut number 11, the one with the red sign in front, 290 miles north of Medellin.
it's the one with the red porch lights.
Yeah.
After the 23rd fork in the road.
Yeah.
Hey, fun fact.
Massive
Up
address.
until recently, when you'd write addresses to Puerto Rico, they were all based on distance from the church, the main church in town. It
Right.
would be like 3 streets north, 1 right turn, 2nd street left turn, 3rd house left. Like that would be the address you would write, because the town had sprung up with no numbering addresses and people were building stuff in between stuff. They just never they went a very long time.
Yeah.
And it eventually got out of control. After Puerto Rico got flattened, more recently, now they've implemented some actual addresses, but you can still write 2 addresses in that way. It's like a whole, like a whole sentence. It's almost like the plotting stuff that you write for real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, second marker.
The meets and bounds.
Yeah, the meets and bounds. Yeah, second marker following along the line to the west. 350 feet.
Yeah.
Turn due east. It's just they sounded like that.
Ugh. So there is a little bit more. Let me give you a little bit rest of this. So it talks about how it's made into a movie. She's also said to attack medics who carry out abortions on pregnant women, as well as men who abandon mothers after conceiving their children. Locals claim the phantom wore a long white dress and could be heard sobbing uncontrollably for the lost children while terrorizing their village. The sightings led to many locals locking their doors and windows out of fear.
So she's like the Dexter of Latin America.
Oh, wait. The last sentence. Here we go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
However, some villagers believe the spirit was in fact the work of pranksters who wanted to send shivers up the spines of the community.
What?
Wait, so they were killing medics and dudes that left their wives? As a prank?
Yeah! Joke's on
Like
you!
the first
Dude, Colombia's on another level.
I know it.
I guess when you have a drug cartel wars in the streets, what's funny gets a little different.
So, this just popped up. I guess I still had one of my windows open. Let me show you the TikTok video of this. The one I was telling you about, the AI generated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta see my. How do we spell this again? ORONA. I'm looking for a thumbnail. Looking for a very specific thumbnail. Let's do this. TikTok. There it is. Here you go.
Do not let your kids around the water in New Mexico. Hello, my name is Llorona. I was once a beautiful woman in Mexico, and I was married to a Spanish man and had 2 kids. My husband traveled for work, but always came back to visit, until one day his visits stopped altogether. I was heartbroken and angry to get back at him for leaving us. I decided to drown our 2 kids in the river. When I came back to my senses, it was too late. I spent every day crying and mourning for my children. I couldn't stand the pain, so I threw myself into the river. But even though I passed, I am still stuck on the earth, still looking for my children today. You might hear me say, if you hear me calling, stay as far away as possible. I might confuse you as my child and snatch you and drag you into the river so you can be with me.
Dang, that's actually creepier for
Yeah.
being like so matter of fact. I might snatch you and drag you
Yes,
into the river.
so that was at Urban America on TikTok for those interested. Cool little channel. They do this same kind of thing with tons of urban legends and folk tales and paranormal-esque things, and they're all just creepy like that. I love them. They're really, really good. So, are you ready for the video?
Yes, let's see the video.
So I've got little to no background information on this, but I'm going to give a shout out. Let me get the video pulled up because there is. Oh, that's a screenshot of it. No, you've seen too much. So this is Paranormal Globe on YouTube posted this video. And the king.
Isn't there a UFO globe too?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I will say the king of paranormal picked it up. The one and only George Norrie.
Really?
Coast to Coast AM picked this up.
Really?
Huge Coast to Coast AM fan. I've been listening since I was a little kid. My guy, AM radio in the back of my backyard in a tent, listening to Coast all night. That was me. That's why I had no friends. But anyway, they're on Spotify now. If in case you're wondering.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Excellent. They've got guest hosts now because let's face it, I think George Norrie's pushing 80 years old now.
Yeah.
So he's got a bunch, like half of the week George Norrie does it, but then the rest of the week he's got like 2 or 3 younger hosts that also help with the show. The newest guy, I forget his name. Oh wait, no, his name is Richard. He's the newest host, and he is great. He is really inquisitive, asks tons of questions. But this was posted not on anything that Paranormal Globe did. Paranormal Globe posted the video. Coast to Coast AM picked it up and wrote a huge article up about it. So shout out both to Coast AM and Paranormal Globe. Check this video out, my guys.
Ooh.
There is audio, but it's It's like audio of that TikTok I just showed you. It's just creepy sounding audio. And then
Is she on the top of the tree?
she is on the top of a tree. So
Huh.
So let's do what we do. Let's go back and look. Here is a power line.
Right.
This is above a power line at a distance. So we can guesstimate that this is probably 150, 200 feet away.
Okay.
So
Based on her size.
as we know, the further things get away, the closer they get to the ground, according to perspective. So if this is high enough that it's over a power line, according to perspective, this thing has got to be way up in the air.
Right. Right.
And that tree does not move. That's what gets me. So at first I'm like, this is just another AI video, but there's little subtleties in the movement that get me.
It doesn't look AI to me.
No. So let me get a shot with her, like her arm raised or something, and we'll zoom in and see what we can see. And she sinks into the tree.
And is that supposedly La Llorona? Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
Screenshot.
Yep. Doing my thing.
Bing. Bing.
So generally, Paul, when we get AI photos, we get what's called artifacting. Anything AI related, we will get heavy artifacting. So what that's going to mean is, like, we can see the pixels of the video here. So what we're looking for is variations of those pixels. And
So a lot of times with the AI videos, it'll be like a blurriness or a smudging,
Right.
or sometimes bigger pixelation than the size that's normally on the rest of the video.
And honestly, the only thing I'm really seeing here is just color variation. I don't see. You know what? Let's screenshot the screenshot and get even closer. Oh, we're getting meta now.
Yeah, I don't really see anything.
All right, so we're going to look at the pixelation of the tree compared to the pixelation of the person. And
Even the shades are pretty similar.
there's just enough difference that you can even see the difference in color between black and green.
Yeah, I don't really see anything.
See, it's
And like I said, I don't really feel like it's AI anyway.
if this is AI, this is some of the best I've seen.
I mean, it honestly except for that it's at the very top of a tree, it looks like, just a person up on top of a hill, except
Yeah.
you can see through the tree right below her.
Yeah, it's just weird, man. Oh, she came up again, right at the end there. I didn't see that before. Whoop. Hello.
The trouble with those kind of videos, when you have this image behind a tree, I've seen images of, the Blessed Mother supposedly appearing like that behind a tree and appearing over the tree, and ghosts and that sort of thing is, we just can't see what's beyond the tree. I don't know if that's an AI generated image, but I would assume it's not based on what we just looked at, but that could be a person on some sort of a lift or a crane, or maybe there's something beyond that. It's very hard to understand.
Yeah, it's
What
taken out of
what this
context.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's not nearly enough context for us to know much of anything here. I have an idea, and as you look over to the left side of the screen, sort of where the little mound of trees go, It almost looks like there might be some kind of a building over there.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was mostly looking below her at where you can see light through the tree
Right.
right underneath her.
And I was trying to figure out. I saw that too.
Let me find the article for this and see what they say about that. Really blanket article. That's not what we wanted. Daily Express, Daily Express. Is it Daily Express? Okay, here we go. A little bit of information. This is from January 2nd of 2024.
Keep that video of that shot up.
Oh, yeah. Sir, yes, sir.
Please.
Wait, is this a different video? The ghost appears to wail loudly from treetop in the footage, with social media users calling it the scariest thing they've ever seen. A ghostly figure of a woman moves above the tree. According to residents, the ghost appeared in broad daylight in a treetop in the municipalities of Manitos, Cordoba, Colombia. Whoa. We need to get.
Found another video?
We need this audio. Holy
Found a-
nuts! Wow. Okay.
Download it.
I don't think it's gonna jive while I'm doing all this. Let me. Oh, jeez. What did I search for? Like, yeah, I've got to find that video I just watched. What did I search for? Hold on. Sorry, I'm scrambling here because that audio just freaking shook me, man.
It doesn't sound like an overlay.
No, it doesn't. Oh, come on, where'd it go? What am I under? Images, aren't I? Yeah, it's images. Ba-ba. Okay, there's the iHeart. Daily Express. That's the one.
And this one's got actual audio
This
with
one's
it.
got audio. Oh, let's skip the ad. We get 26 seconds of this wonderful ad for Cintas. Tire protection? Fire protection. Oh yeah, shame on me for taking stuff out of context.
While we're waiting for the ad, I had a professor when I attended University of New Mexico named Rodolfo Anaya. He wrote a bunch of books and talked about various stories and folklore stories.
Uh-huh.
He has a book called La Llorona, The Crying Woman.
What's
Rodolfo Anaya passed away in 2020, but the book's still available on Amazon. And he wrote quite a lot of books. Bless Me Ultimo is probably the first book I read about.
Mhm.
I read that he wrote. And I read that before I had him as a professor.
give us the name again? What's the name?
La Llorona.
The author's name?
Anaya, his last name's Anaya, A-N-A-Y-A.
You said he's written a number of books about it?
A number of books, yeah. And he wrote one book called La Llorona, but he's written a number of books. A lot of them have to do with various stories and, folklore and that sort of thing.
Well, there you go, listeners. If that's something you're into, check it out. Check it out. Sorry, I'm a Beastie Boys fan. I have no shame. All right, here you go. You guys ready for this?
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, you hear the echo.
Huh.
Yeah, that's different.
That's definitely different.
That's
Yeah, I don't know.
so.
And then it kind of quits before the video's over.
And
From heart.
I might be mistaken, but I think that audio was looped.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounded like
It sounded like it.
Well, poo. But no, let's see. After hearing about this, I had to sleep with my mom, and I haven't even seen the video yet. And then people using this as for a political angle. Oh my god.
What's that video in the corner of dude running over somebody that he doesn't run over?
Oh, that's the ghost. Those are like car ghost.
Oh
the white
yeah,
lady?
driving through ghosts and stuff. Yeah, there's some good ones out there.
Does she snatch your soul out of the car as you drive by?
Maybe.
does.
Hmm.
What you get?
It's one way to get a date.
But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I had to wade through to find 2 pieces of evidence for you guys. All of
Yeah.
these are junk.
Listen, all you had to do is call any 505 area code phone number. Say, listen,
Tell me about La
tell me
Llorona.
about the time you saw La Llorona. And they'll be like, okay, the first or the second time?
Right.
No, say it like New Mexican.
La, do you mean the first time or the second time?
I love it.
Okay, so in my research, I do have some. We'll skip over some of the regional variations because they're pretty much the same and they're chock full of stuff that I can't pronounce. They're just, copy this, paste this story here, paste it in this region. Same thing,
Right,
different
right.
name. So we're gonna skip over that, but talks about some modern interpretations where the recent movie of 2019, The Curse of La Llorona, is. I didn't know this, but it's actually part of the Conjuring universe, so that means it will have Ed,
Oh, really?
Ed and Lorraine Warren in it.
But I don't think they ever actually investigated La Llorona.
And they didn't.
So, I mean, the other
Well, I
stories.
never saw him over by where my mom used to live.
You would know if they
the
came
other
through.
stories they covered. The
For
other stories they
sure.
covered, they made movies about it. Whether or not they really covered it, they actually at least went there.
Yeah,
like
the
the
shame on me.
Amityville.
Y-
Amityville.
We didn't talk about Amityville.
What was the one that we talked about? I thought it was
Um,
Amityville.
The one in UK, the Enfield Poltergeist.
Oh no, we didn't talk. I thought we talked about the Amityville with all the flies.
We did not.
We should.
But we did talk about. Yes, we should.
We should then.
We did talk about the Enfield Poltergeist, and Ed and Lorraine Warren were there, but for like an
But didn't do any
hour.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do any
Like-
research. They were just like, this would make a good book. You should write a book and sell it.
Walking around with their clipboards.
We'll help you.
This is interesting. Here's
We'll
our
help you
interns.
for
They'll
what?
take care of you. Yeah. But since we talked about it, the next section I have typed up is the psychological and moral lessons of La Llorona.
Mm-hmm.
So the story of La Llorona carries several moral and psychological lessons, one of being the consequences of jealousy and rage. La Llorona's actions serve as cautionary tales about the destructive power of uncontrolled emotions. Parental responsibilities. The story underscores the sanctity of motherhood and the deep bond between mother and her child, highlighting the tragedy that ensues when the bond is broken. And regret and redemption. La Llorona is forever tormented by her regret, which serves as a broader lesson of the consequences of making irreversible decisions in moments of emotional turmoil. Oh, we've got a visitor.
Yeah, Gus the ghost puppy is never far away. He's been quiet this whole time, except making sullen puppy noises in the background.
Oh, there's the anxiety yawn. Oh, poor pup.
It smells like he's been eating some tuna.
Well, he's got bad breath.
So, in conclusion, La Llorona is deeply tragic and haunting figure which embodies the mixture of grief, guilt, and rage. Her story is a powerful moral and cultural tale that continues to resonate through Latin America and beyond. Oh, whether seen as a ghostly figure to fear or a cautionary cautionary figure for whom to learn, La Llorona remains one of the most iconic and enduring pieces of folklore in the region. Which brings me to my question, Paul. Give us your spookiest story about La Llorona. Like, time you heard a twig snap and you ran away screaming with the homies. When you're down there digging through the ditches in New Mexico. Let's see
So
what
I
you got.
lived. So I lived about 2 blocks or 3 blocks for much of my life growing up from the Rio Grande.
Okay.
And some friends and I would always go down when we were kids. And one of my friends' dads bought all these peach trees. So we took a peach tree down in a place called the Bosque, the kind of the overgrowth along the banks of the Rio Grande that often floods. And we had built kind of a fort down there.
Uh-huh.
So we decided we would take a peach tree, one of the peach trees my friend's dad bought, and took it down and planted it down there. So we were down there hanging out, and we had a little fire pit, and we had, you know, all these things. We'd climb up in the trees and all that. It was south of the Rio Grande Bridge at New Mexico Highway 6 in Los Lunas. And we were down there one night. It was just after dusk in the summer. And we weren't talking about La Llorona or anything, but we could hear this wailing and crying. And we ran off. I don't think one of us ever went back there again. And I was probably, in that time, I was probably 13 or 14. And so a number of years later, I was working for the fire department, and the Bosque was on fire, burning up. And on that side of the river was not in the district I was in. And I remember thinking to myself, good, I hope it burns up over there where La Llorona is and gets her. Because I never went back over there, because we're like, we're going to plant a peach tree, and we're going to eat peaches and hang out. And oh no, we never went back there. I don't think any of us ever went back there after we did it, because it was very scary, and I have no idea what it was. No idea.
So my challenge for you, good sir, mimic the sound. Let's hear it.
I don't think I can. It was like a woman wailing and crying, and like making a ghost sound. Only it just sounded like haunting. Yeah, really, but even more than that. It was like haunting. It like struck your soul, and you had to run.
I don't know. I gotta hear. I gotta hear something.
Run.
Give me something. Give us something. Come on, just once.
I don't even know. It was just like, she's like crying.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah.
And
that
was
was
terrible,
good.
Right?
That was good.
And in New Mexico, we have these places called moradas for the penitentes, which are a lay religious order in the Catholic Church. New Mexico is one of the places they exist. And on Good Friday, there's a service of lights where all the lights are extinguished, and you find yourself in the morada in the dark, and you hear chains rattling and crying, and it's the wail of souls in purgatory. That's the idea. It's like this whole play you go participate in.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounded like to me. Only I didn't hear chains rattling, but I heard all the wailing. I heard enough. We took off out of there. There was no way. And then later in life, when I went to a morada on Good Friday and spent the evening there at the service of lights, the Tenabra service, I was like, I heard all that wailing and chains rattling and, hitting the boards underneath you. Oh, no way. I thought, that sounds just like that time La Llorona almost got us at the river.
Okay. So,
And it was like the same kind of scary, you know? And there at that time, I don't know what, I was probably 35 or 40. And it still scared me, and I remembered the day La Llorona almost got us at the river.
jeez. Thank you for your interpretation and for your rendition of the wailing. I appreciate that.
It was instructive.
We're gonna clip it, and we're gonna put that face you made while you were wailing in the intro video. So you're gonna see you float by. You think I'm playing? I'm gonna do it.
No, thank you.
So let's come down on a decision of what we think about this.
Okay.
All
right.
How about you go first, Aeon?
So I it's difficult with these ones that have persisted for so long but taken on so many different faces. Right? We're not just talking about a story, like, is this one event real?
Right.
Right. We're not talking about, like, is this picture, this UFO that all these people have this story about, is this real? Right? Now we're talking about something that's history spanning and cultural spanning both regionally and time.
Right.
Right? It's a big area to cover. Do I think all of that is one thing? No, not really. But I do think that you have, rivers have always been culturally a source of, a conveyance of souls, right? So you have, like, the story of the river Styx, with the Greeks. You have, and even in Christian mythology, right? It's always a representation of a ferrying of souls.
Right.
So the idea that you have this lady, right, who haunts the ditch bank where she drowned her children, for whose soul she's looking for, right, kind of fits along that narrative. So, I mean, I think, given the number of people that claim to have seen it, and its recurrence, I feel like there's probably something to it. Also, given its length of life, do I think it's one person? Maybe not. Or, I mean, one entity? Maybe not. I wonder if you're not talking about more like a river spirit.
Right.
Right? Like a farrier of souls.
And if
so, I think there's something to it. I don't know whether or not it's just the urban legend of La Llorona. But it seems like there's something to it because it seems to persist, especially in the Southwest and South America.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there's more of, how do I put this? It's more cultural and regional than anything. I feel like
Right.
I'm gonna become the pessimist here, and let me be the bad guy because somebody's got to be. But I feel like it's more like a cautionary tale for kids in that area to stay out of the riverbed areas. Because it's perfect, you know? It's like, don't talk to strangers. Don't talk to the creepy guy with the van offering you candy. Don't play down by the river.
If he has a gumball machine riveted to the bumper of his panel van, don't talk to him.
Yeah. It's that's what it feels like to me. It feels like a cautionary tale used by parents to keep kids from playing in an area where what was the flooding thing that you guys called it? Dry bed? What is it?
Bosque. The bosque. Bosque. Bosque.
The dry wash.
Dry wash. That's it.
Oh no, arroyo.
Yeah.
Arroyo.
Yeah.
It feels like that was a problem, or has always been a problem. I don't want to say a problem. It was an issue for that area. And even before, these aqueducts were cut for drainage, it was a problem. How do we let's say you're a parent. Don't go in the basement because I got all my sharp tools down there. That's not going to work. Don't go in the basement because the boogeyman's down there is going to get you and rip your face off. That'll keep the kids out of the basement.
Right.
Right.
That's what
I
the
think
tale of La Llorona feels like to me.
Yeah, I think it's a true story. And I think it's a true story in that The Life of Pi is a true story. If you've read the book or you've seen the movie, there's two stories that could be the same story that are wildly different.
Yeah.
This is a true story because it's a cultural story that several cultures have had and has stood the test of time, and they've adopted it for themselves. And there are moral teachings in the story.
Yeah.
And the moral teachings early on might have been don't marry another class. And I think in America we don't understand the class struggle
Right.
like other cultures do and have. And
Especially cultures that have been colonized.
right. And there so there's those sorts of stories, these sorts of moral imperatives, moral teachings, moral ideas. And Gus, stop it. And he's trying to move the camera.
He's moving the camera.
I saw it doing a little.
So, yeah. We're not having an earthquake. It's all fine. So, and you know, in the modern thing, the culture has adopted the story to tell children to stay out of the ditch and stay out of the river. Those are dangerous places. And listen, people drown in the river and the ditch every year. And I don't mean just one or two. It's a real problem.
Yeah.
And you think, how do you drown in the desert? Well, going out there. And how do you keep children from drowning? You tell them about La Llorona.
Right.
That's not the only way, right? But that's a way. And so I think in that regard, it's a true story. Like all of these sort of legends, I think there's probably going to be some truth to it somewhere.
Right.
Because aren't these iconic stories anyway? Like if you're talking about the class struggle, it's this, you know, Aztec woman or whatever that was dating some noble person and or his mistress or whatever the story was. And she's dating a different race. She's involved with a different race. She's involved with a different class. And she caused the whole downfall of her civilization, according to the story.
Right.
So there's the cautionary tale of don't do that. Don't mix races. Even though that's something today that's not a politically correct or maybe a politically appropriate story, or maybe we believe we're more enlightened than that now. So this is a transformed story. Same boogeyman, different message.
Yeah.
Or different, looking for a different utility.
Right.
It kind of makes me think of like a reverse Cinderella.
How so?
Right. Well, because you have this poor girl marries this nobleman, and then everything goes wrong. Right?
Yeah.
They have the perfect life and they have kids. You know, the first part was easy, and then it turns into, you know, murder suicide. Whereas Cinderella starts out as a poor girl, everything's terrible until she marries dude, and then everything's great.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cinderella's
Reverse Cinderella.
Right. Cinderella's happily ever after, and La Llorona's happily never.
Never after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like that's why I say it's like a reverse Cinderella.
So I could see how it could be from. So let's take it all the way back from our first quote unquote reported evidence from Aztec times. Let's say an Aztec woman becomes, you know, involved with a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just by sheer circumstance, crops fail. The fall of the empire happened soon after. And it at that time, you know, it would take just one person to be like, you know what? Everything was good.
It was all you. It was her.
It was all good until she did that.
Yeah,
And
you were the only one that did a different thing.
But that's different.
yeah,
Yeah. You're the only one that did something different. It must be you.
Yeah, and you know, that same idea, that same school of thought followed into cultures to today. Well, not today, but, you know, for example, the Salem witch trials. You know, everything was good until, you know, this person became sick. And wait, didn't that person come around and say that I curse your name?
Yeah.
So
so it must be
the
them.
outlier created the issue.
A witch.
A witch
Burn
burner. She has
And
got
how
a
do we tell if
wart.
she's- And how do we tell if she's a witch?
Throw her into the pond.
Throw her in the pond. And what? And when we throw her in the pond, what will happen? What else floats?
Very small rocks.
A very small rock. A duck. A
A
duck.
duck.
A duck floats.
So logically, if she weighs the same as a duck, she's made
She's
of
a
wood,
witch.
and therefore a witch. Oh, I love me some Monty Python. I can quote that stuff for days.
We've been playing too much chivalry too.
Oh,
really
yeah.
because it's all, you know, you cut dude's arm off and he's running around with no arm. It's just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound. Yeah. I had that shirt for a long, long time. The black knight with no arms and no legs, and he says "'Tis but a
Yeah.
flesh wound." I thought it was the
Yeah.
funniest thing ever, and nobody knew it. Nobody got it. It was just like, yeah. The look on people's faces that saw my shirt is the same look that Paul has right now.
I thought it was funny. Back in my paramedic days, I had a shirt on that said "just a flesh wound." And I just laughed and laughed and laughed, and I thought it was very funny. Because of course, I thought of Monty Python, and you know, everyone else was as serious as a heart attack, and I'm like, this is just amazing. I wonder if he knew when he was putting this shirt on.
Paramedic wearing with just a flesh wound.
No, the person who'd been injured.
Oh, the person who's been injured.
Oh my god! That's why it was just crazy.
It's way worse.
Yeah, I did. There's a
That's funny.
so one of my coworkers, you know, I'd love to give him a shout out, but he'll never listen to the podcast. But if you do, you know who I'm talking about. He and I reminisce on movies from growing up, from days of yore, and we're like, so Saturday was our half day, and it was just him and I at the shop, and usually he's got like music jumping, and we got music going, and we're having a good time while we're working. But Saturdays when it's just him and I in there, you know, music doesn't get turned down, and we have this unspoken game where we throw, "Hey, do you remember this movie?" back and forth. And I swear he is the only other diehard Airplane fan on the planet left. And we spent the day quoting Airplane back and forth to each other. And I am complete. I can die happy now. I finally found another Airplane fan.
When you and I first lived together, you used to quote it all the time, and you'd see me not laughing. You're like, "Airplane," and I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, that's the things
Like,
that go in
dude,
the air.
Have you not? I was like, "Yeah, I've seen it, but I can't quote every joke out of the movie." Yeah, of course I've seen it, but no, I don't know the reference.
We need to learn you.
Because I'd be like, "Well, Shirley," and you're like, "Don't call me Shirley." Dude.
But Leslie Nielsen was the king of one-liners.
Right.
And every
Those movies were just one-liners strung together.
and they were so good though. My favorite line, and not many people get it. Even the people that see an Airplane don't get it. Like it doesn't quite slap with them like it does with me. Like there'll be two people at the shop in a heated argument doing something really important, like we've only got one chance to make this cut, and if we screw it up, it's going to cost us $30,000. And they'll be in the middle of cutting, and I'll come over and tap them on the shoulder and be like, "I just wanted to say good luck. We're all counting on you," and then leave. and they're like,
I do remember that line.
watching me as I leave the shop, strolling. Because
I do remember that.
I didn't know that there was an episode of Family Guy where they referenced it. It was like Stewie and Stewie and Brian were going back in time and messing with the time loop, and they go to 9/11, and they try to stop 9/11, and they stop the terrorists, but they killed the pilot, and they're like, "How do we land the plane?" And they're in the cockpit trying to figure out how to land a plane, and then Leslie Nielsen walks in and says, "I just wanted to say good luck. We're all counting on you," and then leaves. And I'm over there rolling, laughing on the bed, and my wife's like, "What's so funny?" And I was like, well, we're just gonna have to watch that movie again. You'll get it eventually. But yeah.
All right, so the vote on La Llorona is that it's a real cultural story.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily
A real phenomenon.
a real paranormal entity.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it paranormal, but
Mhm.
but culturally, it lives on.
Yeah.
It's a good cautionary tale to keep kids away, despite how many times Paul has been accosted by this ghost.
Listen, I've spent many an evening in after dark driving on the riverbank or walking in there looking for La Llorona.
But then you ran away.
And then you ran
Well,
away.
we did run away when we heard her. That was when we were younger and then a little older, but I never went back to that place where that peach tree was.
How-
That thing probably withered and died. as
How
far
old were
as I
you
know.
when you did the peach tree thing?
I don't know, probably 13.
Yeah, that was right about the age where you could still get scared enough to shit your pants.
We didn't get scared, but we ran. And
Yeah.
I probably left good things there I wanted. I mean, you know, good things.
Oh,
for
yeah.
13.
Yeah.
But there was no way in the world I was going back there.
Yeah, I don't know that there's been anything in my life that has scared me that badly. I know as a kid I was scared of my basement. Does that count?
Like the furnace in Home Alone.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we did have our furnace in the basement, of course. This was
I gotta say, I had a furnace in my basement too, except mine didn't look like a medieval forge like the one in
Oh yeah.
Home Alone.
Mine didn't either.
It looked like a like an ancient like wood burning boiler, like the like wrought iron door grates on it. And stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, what furnace do you have? Because I remember I had to ask my mom. I was like, what is that? She's like, it's the furnace. I'm like, what does our furnace look like? Do we have one of those? And she showed me the furnace. I was like, ours doesn't look scary like that. It's just, flat sheet metal.
Yeah, I had like the package unit in the basement,
Mm-hmm.
but there was something about my basement that just scared me to death. And up until I was like 23, I had nightmares about my basement.
Really?
In my house that I was, raised in Michigan, which is weird because I only lived there until I was 14. So for
Right.
10 years after I left, I still had nightmares about that basement. It's like those videos you see on like TikTok and stuff where like somebody's standing in their house and the lights are all on and they flip the switch really quick and take off running and there's like a guy in a black suit chasing after him. Like, this is what I do when I'm home alone and I don't want the shadows to get me. That's the way I felt when I went in the basement.
I don't want the shit.
Have you not seen those?
No, but that sounds funny.
Oh my gosh. I gotta find it now.
So it's just a dude dressed in all black.
Yeah, like an all black skin suit. I've got to.
Representing the shadows.
I'm here representing the shadows. If you please duly run and be scared.
Oh, come on. Somebody's got to have it. Peeking shadows? No. Come on. I was hoping it would be right there by the top, but let's see how specific I can get. Oh, yeah, here, I think this is it.
Nice.
You notice he had to jump in the bed.
Yeah. Yes, I know. The boogeyman's under the bed too.
You always have to jump in the bed
Yeah.
because
Did he?
even now, yeah, he did. Even now, when I'm coming back from the bathroom at night, I know that I have to run and jump up on the bed. Why? Because the monsters are waiting underneath the bed
To grab your ankles.
to grab your ankles. Did you see him? Jumped in
Oh.
that bed.
Did you see the one? Did you see the one that was already in the bed?
Yeah. So would you like me to put in the final thoughts?
Let's hear your final thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away.
Or we could play My Llorona for the, closing song, if that works.
Is that
It's based on my Sharona.
I was gonna say, it sounds like my
Yeah,
Sharona.
it is.
My Llorona.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Exactly
It's
right.
on YouTube. It's amazing. It's like by
exactly it.
Blackout Media.
If-
There's also Drive Like a New Mexican. Set to
Now that is the
Walk
thing
Like
to
an
be really
Egyptian.
afraid.
yeah, there's that too. It's terrible.
We're gonna skip the copyrighted material
Excellent.
and get in. We'll get into some final thoughts, I suppose. What? Give us what you got, Aeon. Let's hear it.
So I think whether it's urban legends or cultural folklore such as boogeymen under the bed, haunted furnaces in the basement, or culturally diverse couples that destroy whole civilizations. I think you have to take it for the kernel of where it comes from. Dark places scare us because we're human and we like the light of the fire.
Yeah.
Rivers wash people away, and rivers have always been mysterious to us and have represented all sorts of things, from the transport of souls to the flow of knowledge. And I think
The unknown.
and I think that things that are different, like in the case of the Aztecs, a biracial couple, it was different and therefore scary and therefore new and therefore probably the cause of anything bad that happened after it. But I think that as long as you look at the underlying tale of what it is, there's probably a whole lot of stuff you can get from it. Probably not really haunted. Probably no serial killers under the bed with a straight razor to get your Achilles tendon at night. All of you can go to sleep. All of you can go to sleep at night and not be scared that that's gonna happen.
There ain't nothing underneath my bed, but
That one's free.
totes full of electronic cords.
A creature like that, I would never die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by
Or monsters in the closet that you have to
Beast is
leave the
not
light
dead.
on.
I
No,
put
you
for
have to close the doors to let your
You're crazy.
But I saw that monster
It's a
too.
magical-
All I wanted was
Give
someone
her
to
her own
believe.
space.
Contaminated.
She needs space to twirl and listen
Look,
to
was scared to death.
Fleetwood Mac.
But whatever your
All right, let's get to
your
work.
current urban legend that you're living under is, you can always find the answers if you follow us.
Beyond the shadows. Whoa!
Good night, everybody.
Good night.